I'd like to welcome you to another episode of A Chat with Anita and Matt. And today we have a guest on, and I'm going to turn it over to Matt so he can introduce him.
Great. Thanks, Anita. And thanks, Rob, for coming in today. He's out on the West Coast, I believe.
Yep.
Los Angeles.
Thanks for having me.
Terrific. Rob Bedell, who I was really excited to have on because of his experience. And we always, we talk mostly to folks in online marketing who, I feel a lot of the online marketing, even the tools that we use, are just so focused on a name and an email. And drive people to your sales page. That's how you sell. You drive people to a sales page and they give you their first name and an email. Well, Rob is somebody who actually talks to people. It's not done very much in online marketing. So I think we would all benefit from his huge experience for years in the newspaper business, as a publisher, as a sales guy. And so that's what why we brought Rob on to share some of his expertise with us today. So welcome aboard, Rob.
Well, thank you for having me again.
And maybe just kick us off. Just let us know what you're up to now, the folks that you're helping, and what you help them with.
Well, throughout my career, I've gone to businesses one at a time and helped increase their sales, maximize their sales by putting a sales process in place that all the salespeople can follow to optimize their sales. But now, in the last year, I've actually, instead of working for one company at a time, I'm doing what's called fractional sales management. Fractional CFOs have been around for decades now. So small businesses really can't afford a full-time CFO, so they have them come in for a half a day a week, kind of set up their finances. I'm now doing that with sales and sales processes for businesses.
That's fascinating. How did you move from what you were doing to this new model?
Well, one of the things that I saw, and actually, Anita, you and I have talked about this, is one of the things I've always seen in the sales marketing relationship is sometimes sales and marketing were at each other's throats, and I never really understood that. So I put together a sales process. It's like, okay, well, what is a sales process? And one of the things that I include in that is lead scoring. It's basically, so you get a bunch of leads from a source, or you're driving traffic to your landing page. Which ones are converting? Which ones aren't? Which ones can you get on the phone? Which ones have the correct information? Which ones can you get meetings with? And which ones do you close? If you're not getting them all the way through closing, then you need to communicate that back with your marketing people and say, hey, these ones are doing really good, but the ones from this source are not working so well. So let's readjust our marketing campaigns and our focus. And that's one of the things that anytime I put that in place in a business, it's amazing what happens. When you establish clear communication between sales and marketing, business come out does better.
And I was just going to say, for what I do with customer attraction, that it is the exact same process. You talk to the people who you've successfully converted into customers, and then you take that and you reflect it back in your marketing to attract more of those same types of people, because you know that for that group, the process has worked.
Right. Well, and the funny thing about it, especially with small business owners, one company that I took from a regional company to a national company, it was a father-son company. And when I went in and started talking to them, and originally I'm like, well, what's important in this industry? Like time, service, and quality, time, service, and quality. I'm like, all right. I went out to their top 3 clients and I sat down with them and I was like, why do you work with these guys? And they're like, well, because when problems happen, and there's always going to be a problem, they get right on it. They tell us what happened and they show us how it's going to not happen again. Like, well, what about time, service, and quality? Like, Rob, that's an industry standard. If you're not doing that, you're not in this industry. So I had to go back to them and say, hey, listen, guys, yeah, time, service, quality is great, but really what sets you apart from everyone else is your customer service and communication. When we started to lead our sales with that, sales just blew up. Because they're like, everyone's going time, service, and quality. And we come in and sit there and say, hey, you know something? When problems happen, you're going to get us. We're going to respond within 24 hours. And not only are we going to tell you what happened, but we're going to tell you how we were going to make sure it doesn't happen again. And again, in a course of 8 years, we grew 500%.
Oh.
Through a recession. Yeah.
When I hear you talk, it sounds kind of strategic and tactical. You're talking about sales being at marketing, and we know you have a 4th degree black belt in Hapkido.
Yep, Hapkido.
But how much of that goes into how you teach and train and how you describe the process to people, how they get their sales? Is that martial arts training?
It does. Self-discipline and patience. Grandmaster Han, who I was very, very fortunate to be able to train with for 10 years before his passing, who brought Hapkido from Korea to America, really said it's a lifestyle, and courtesy, integrity, wisdom, self-control, and indomitable spirit, perfection of character are all traits that we follow. There's tenets that we follow that, especially in sales and marketing, really hone in. My favorite is awareness. Awareness comes without choice, without demand, without anxiety, and that state there is perception. And when you use that in your sales and your marketing, those messages, it really resonates with people.
Yeah. I was just recording something earlier today, and it was all around that if you want to attract your ideal customer, you have to be aware of, first of all, what type of business you want to build. What kind of lifestyle do you want to have? Then from there, you move to defining the business. Then you define who your ideal customers are to make that happen. And it's something that I don't hear a lot of people talking about, whether it's in sales or marketing, is that it really starts with the business owner, like that example you just gave, right? They thought it was this, but their customers are saying, no, it's actually this reason over here. Having that awareness, I agree, just like totally cracks everything wide open. And it actually makes the whole process easier of marketing and selling, because now you really know what you're dealing with. You want to speak a little further to that?
And I think you said something that a lot of people will gloss over really quickly, is your ideal client. And a lot of people said, well, and I'll sit down with them, who's your ideal client? Oh, everyone. It's like, no, they're not. I would love to sit there and say every business needs my help. No, they don't. No. McDonald's, Nike does not advertise to everyone. They know their market and they hone in on those people. And once you actually find who your ideal client is, it's easier to find them, and it's easier to talk to them at the level that they're at. The funniest thing in the world, because there's everyone focuses on their business and what's important to them, but you hit it on the head. They shouldn't be. They should be focused on their customer and what's important to them. I set up a sales process that everyone follows, and what's done at what time, but I make sure that the sales process corresponds to the buying process that they're going through. Because a lot of people will just focus on what are we doing? Well, we must be doing something wrong. It's like, no, stop focusing on you. Start focusing on your customers. What are they going through? How can you talk to them in a way that they're going to understand you, especially with your marketing?
I would actually say that the marketing becomes the foundation of it. It becomes this circle, right? So you do exactly what you did with that company, Rob. You ask. You go, you ask them, you find out exactly what it is what sets you apart, why they chose you over your competitors, what do they like, what do they dislike. Ask those questions, learn, and then you reflect it back in your marketing. Those are those objections or stumbling points that people have that you can speak to directly in your marketing. So then again, like you mentioned, the sales process then becomes easier. You just take them step by step by step.
Right.
But I think it's such a challenge for business owners to step back and say, all right, this has to start with me, but not with me.
Right.
It has to start with me. I need to define what I want this business to look like, what type of lifestyle I want. But then I go to my customers who I currently have, find out what they want, what they like, what they don't like, and then align the two. Once you've got that, which it sounds like with that father-son company you talked about, everything just will come together very easily and seamlessly.
Well, it helps when you have a good product and service. And I've been fortunate to work with a lot of companies that had great products and services, because I can take something that's good and get it to a great company. I can't take something that's schlocky and make it work. It's just, so it does start with what they're offering. But then it goes into, okay, this is what we're offering. This is what we think is valuable about it. But let's go ask some people what they find value about it. And a lot of times small businesses are, I don't know, they seem hesitant or afraid to talk to their clients. It's like, no, embrace it. Because this way you eliminate all unsure. It's like, okay, do they like us? Do they not? And a lot of times they'll sit there and say, yeah, I like when you do this, but this little thing over here I don't like. And it's like, oh, well, the more you know, the more you can adjust your business model and your marketing and your sales and your customer service to them. And once you start knowing what works and what doesn't, it's easier. Business just gets a lot better.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's what struck me most when I was reading your bio and some of your posts on LinkedIn is about don't overlook the customers you have.
Mm-hmm.
And that is such a massive, and, you know, it's been my motto, you know, as Anita knows, keep your customers forever. That's what I talk about. Why not focus on the ones you have instead of doing what we're all taught? You need lead gen. You got to bring in more. Here's how you bring in more customers. It's like, you probably have enough customers, a lot of folks, because they probably want other things. They probably want other services you have if you talk to them, just like you're saying. So I think that's so key.
And when you talk to your customers, you can actually, here's an odd way of looking at it is you talk to your customers and say, hey, you know something, I'm glad you're happy. Do you know anyone else that might be able to use what we're giving you? And magically, when I call somebody up and say, hey, Mike, it's nice talking to you. Diane over at this company said you might be able to, you know, use what we have. And magically, first of all, we're instantly qualified because Diane referred us. And it makes it a lot easier. It's like, oh, well, if Diane's using them, I can use them too. And so it just makes it a lot easier. So I think it's really critically important to focus in on the customers you currently have and making sure you talk to them and you get communication back from them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Now, what do you do, Rob, in this process? So you've spoken to some of the customers and perhaps they've said and given feedback on things they don't particularly like. Mm-hmm. Let's say there's something about the customer experience, or maybe it was the product or service they received. What do you then do with that information and bringing it back into the sales and marketing process?
Well, it depends on what they say. If it is a sales and marketing aspect that can be fixed with it, great. Then we can easily do that. But if it's a product or a customer service based, and this is, you know, again, this is what we had when the father-son company, the first thing I did is I went into their office, we did a workflow chart. And I'm like, all right, we want to grow, we want to be scalable. Do you see any holes? And the son sat down and goes, there's a hole there, there's a hole there, there's a hole there. And a lot of it came with the customer service and communication. Once we get the order in, how do we communicate with the customer through the whole process? Mm. And so, you know, and again, that was something we learned very early on is we need that communication. If the inspectors are having a hard time getting out there, the customer wants to know it. Because again, the father was old school business, the son was, you know, a new school business. The father's like, no, you don't tell a customer anything when you're having problems. And that wasn't the case. When we went back to the client, this was an insurance inspection company. When we went back to the client and said, hey, listen, we're having a hard time getting in touch with the insured. They pick up a phone or send an email, say, hey, if you don't talk to the inspector, we're going to cancel your policy. Magically, the person became a lot more cooperative. And we were able to work with them a bit more that way. And that's one of the things that they didn't know at the beginning, is that they want to hear when things aren't going right so they can help us because they want the process to go smoothly. And I think a lot of times business owners and businesses are afraid that if things are not going smoothly, to get their customer involved in the process.
Yeah, and I think that's so true. We talk on the show a lot about people wanting you to be better. Your customers want you to stick around. They want you to get better. They want you to never leave. And we rarely take advantage of it. We'll send out a survey because everybody gets a survey and a few percent, you know, fill it out. But nobody ever shares those results with you. And that happens all the time. We'll get a survey and say, wow, maybe they're interested this time. And you fill out the survey, you send it in. Of course, you hear nothing. And you're like, well, that was a waste. These people don't really care. And you walk away. And sometimes they don't even know you left. But to actually, you know, talk to your folks, knowing that not only with your testimonials example, or they want to refer you to others, but they also want you to become better.
Yeah, and you know, if a customer went through a whole process of deciding to work with a company, they don't want to have to go through that again. Like they've gone through their buying process, they picked your company to do business with. They don't want to have to find somebody else unless they have no other choice. So yes, you're absolutely right, Matt. It's like, talk to them, find out what's working, what's not working, adjust accordingly. That's one of the things with this the insurance inspection company. Mel and Dave had the best technology out there, hands down. They could customize it to each client, to each customer, which is what made it so valuable. And a lot of other companies are kind of afraid to do that, I think.
Yeah, and just taking this a little further, sorry that I'm stumbling over my words. I've got so many things that I want to address, and it's like, which one, which piece? I'm working with someone right now, and he's doubled his business in the last 2.5 years, looking to double again. But when we sat down and talked, I asked him about who his ideal customer was. And then we talked about the customers he actually has. Realize that there's a bit of a gap there, and that we could take advantage of that really, and really work with it by going to his customers now. And then he told me about this one woman who, for whatever reason, her experience with his business was terrible. Like, she just sent emails, she just ripped him apart on social media. And I said, I want to talk to her. Yeah. I want to talk to her. What was it about her experience that made it vastly different from everybody else's? And he actually kind of resisted at first. And I said, but she could give you information that you're not seeing because your other customers either had a so-so experience and then aren't really coming back there, because he has a lot of one-offs and it's the type of business he has. But I said, like, she could give so much information about the process. Maybe there was some part that you think is working well, but from her perspective and maybe many other people's perspective, like you said, that there's a hole there. Mm-hmm. And then by learning and filling that hole, the customer experience can be so much better. Like, she's the one person I really want to speak to. So he's going to give me her information. I finally convinced him. It will be done, obviously, in a respectful way. And I hope that she would be open to talking to me so that we can find out, like, what went so horribly wrong for her. Because she really is an outlier. And now maybe it's her personality. That's possible. But I always think there's something else there.
Well, and that's the funny thing, Anita, is a lot of people don't look for the people. There's always going to be people you're going to do business with that they can't stick for some reason or other. They're not going to like you or what your company or what you're doing. Yeah. That just comes with the territory. But you can learn so much from those people if you just sit there and say why. Because, you know, a lot of times people sit there and say, oh, you put it in the sales process, so it's the same for everything. It's like, no, it's this sales process for these customers, but it's this sales process for these customers because they're different and they have different buying processes. So you have to adjust your sales process. And people are like, oh, just as with marketing, you market a certain way to one group of people, to the baby boomers, but now the millennials, you're not going to send the same message out there because they're not going to hear it. So you have to talk to them in a language that they understand. That's one of the things I'm in the process of writing a book, but one of the chapters I say is, what language are you speaking? What language are they speaking? And it's just being able to connect with the customer at their level. Where are they along the buying process? Best example of this, and people are going to laugh, but last time I bought a car, the car salesman, I went out to the lot with a female friend of mine. She took me there, and guy said, hey, how you doing here? You just looking around, or you have something in mind already? I was like, well, yeah, I was thinking of getting the Nissan Rogue. And he's like, oh, is this your girlfriend or your wife? I'm like, no, just a friend. He goes, okay, why the Nissan Rogue? And I listed off things of what I liked about it and what I was looking for. And he goes, yeah, you know something, the Nissan Rogue is probably the best one for you. I know that's a sales tactic. Yes, you did your research, agree with the customer, but he found out where I was in the buying process. He knows I already did all the research on it, that I had my needs and what it can do for me already in place. And so therefore he met me and was able to talk to me at the level I was at. If he came up to me and said, oh, let me show you this car and that car, I probably would have turned around and walked right off the lot. But by asking questions, and this is a funny thing that a lot of times small businesses have a hard time doing, is ask questions. It's okay to say, I don't know where you are. I don't know what you need or what you want. Let me find that out. Because by him doing that with me, he's like, let's get in the car and go for a ride. We got in the car, went for a ride. It's like, hey, you like the acceleration? You like how it handles? Hey, I bet you didn't know it also had these features as well. We got back and I was like, I already have my own financing, so all you need to do is call my bank. And because of the way he handled it, it went so smoothly and actually kind of quick. But it's because he met me at where I was.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the old copywriting thing, right? I forgot who said it years and years ago. You know, you want to enter the conversation in your, in your prospect's mind, the conversation that they're having in their mind. That's what you want to enter, so that, filters through to the copywriting as well.
Yeah.
Well, and Matt, I think it's important. The conversation that they are having, not the conversation you're having in your mind, right, which is where a lot of people do, a lot of marketing, a lot of salespeople do. Well, this is what I want to tell them. That might not matter. They don't care about quality and time service. They care about customer service and communication. It kind of all goes back to that.
Yeah.
It's a hard lesson too. I mean, because I do the same thing. I'm like, this is what you need. I know, I'm the expert. I've been teaching this for 25 years. You need this. And I just have to catch myself. with exactly that advice.
I was just going to interject for a second. So stuck on the side of my monitor here is a little piece of paper that says, what are these people saying to themselves? And that is my constant reminder right there of what you were just saying, Rob, meeting them where they are in their heads. What are they thinking? Because and not only for businesses that are at different levels, but like you said, are they just discovering they have a problem, or are they not even problem aware yet? They're just seeing that there's issues, but they haven't really come together yet to say, oh, perhaps this is what's going on. And that is why it becomes so key to have different customer profiles. And I'm so glad you said this, because I hear it, it's either everybody is my market, which we know is not true, and it's not a benefit.
No.
The benefit is when you can hone it down to generally 2 or 3, and then focus on their specific challenges. And then, the biggest is, what will they feel once your solution comes in? So what are they feeling now? What are the thoughts that they're having? What are they worried about? What would they like you to solve with your product or solution? And that's going to be different for each of those 2 to 3 customer groups that you're marketing to or selling to.
And that kind of goes into a conversation you and I've had before, is like, how do you want to take your approach?
Yes.
People buy from 2 reasons: pleasure or pain. It's either going to make their life better, and oh my God, I'm going to be the hippest person around, but everyone's going to look at me, or oh my God, that's going to happen if I don't do this. So much of marketing and sales focuses on the pain. And we've been taught this, probably, you've probably heard it, you got to go after them and say, if you don't do this, your life's going to end. Oh, I'm not a big fan of approaching sales that way and marketing. I'd rather sit there and say, hey, listen, are you where you want to be right now with your business, with your life, with everything? No? Okay, then let's get you to where you want to be. Let's help you. Let's give you the support to get you to where you want to be. Let's make your life a little bit easier. Let's make it to where you don't have to be working 60 hours a week. You can actually back off a little bit. You can give out some of the leadership skills that you have and have other people responsible for you. We're going to make your business easier, your life better. I think that has a better approach to it than, oh my God, your business is going to fail if you don't talk to me. Again, that's just my approach.
Well, and it's different than, and that's what we talk about a lot on the show, is doing contrarian things, because when the whole world is going towards here's the problem and agitating on the problem. And I know that has been successful for a century or more. I mean, that's what they've done. But in the online marketing world, it's just so overdone. We're all expecting, it's like, okay, here we go. Now I'm going to watch the video where you tell your story, and I'm going to watch the one where you talk about what's missing in my life, and you're going to agitate. It's just like, do something different. Just go directly to your customer and ask, here's some things I've done for other people. Would these serve you? Or, what's your problem? Just doing things different, I think, just makes a huge difference now in this era of online marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the one thing that people need to take into consideration, I just did this presentation in November to a group of people, and it was so funny too, because I'll get to my point in a second, but my most fun thing that I always get to is I sit there and say, okay, I got done with the presentation. I'm like, all right, so does anyone have any questions? And a lot of people got on and said, well, when we're looking at doing our business development, and I said, you mean sales? You could hear them groan. People have this fear of the word sales. It's like, oh, well, we're doing business development. We're the customer, and it's like sales. Just say sales. It's okay. Sales is not a bad thing. I know it's got a bad rap sometimes, but people complicate it too. They think sales, Zig Ziglar, Dale Carnegie. Yes, if you're selling a product that's 6, 7, 8 figures, yes, you might need to use those sales techniques. But the basic foundation and fundamentals of sales is starting the conversation. And if you can start a conversation, you can have sales. You can do sales, and it's simple as that. And then basically you tie the marketing into it, and it just makes it so much easier. And I have some marketing friends like you guys, and we always kind of give each other a hard time. Well, what's more important, marketing or sales? Marketing or sales? And we argue back and forth. But the key thing about it is when they work hand in hand, that's when you find the most success. And a lot of times I'll talk to business owners, and they sit there and say, "Well, Rob, that's common sense." And I'm like, yes, but when common sense becomes common practice, that's when you find success. And I have to acknowledge the first part of that I got from a mentor of mine, Bernard Bouchard, the common sense, common practice, but I added the little sales part. That's when you find success. So
I love it. I love it. Matt, any last words you'd like to mention or comment?
Yeah. I mean,
Rob?
yeah, just so much. I mean, again, I'll circle back to where I was before. Tell a quick story about, you know, the email platforms, the sales platforms, the tools that online marketers are using are so focused on not knowing who your people are. I was using one mail platform. I had to call support. I said, I need to download my list of people. I want to see their first names and last names, their titles, where they work. Oh, that's custom. We don't have the functionality for that. But I want to see my people. Well, you can only download first name and email. And I'm like, wow, isn't that just typical? All we know about these people is their first name and their email. Their first name, so we can do dear Rob, dear Anita, and look real personal. But we don't really want to know anything else about them. And it just struck me that we're kind of stuck in this era. We call it, the dying era now. The old guard is kind of going away, where all the focus is on how do you sell to people? Urgency, scarcity, authority. You just hit them with the dark psychology tactics and the pressure tactics. And that's what we've been saying. Well, it's time for something new. And what you're doing is not new. I mean, it's what has been successful in sales forever, but a lot of it is just new thoughts, to this group.
Well, and I think it's important to know that, especially with today's day and age and the modern technology, I mean, in order to find something out, I just picked this up and typed some stuff into it. So you have to understand that when you're talking to somebody, even in a marketing context or a sales context, is they probably know 60% of the information they need to know about you, your company, your industry, and what's out there, because of the fact that they've already done the research. It's not like when, and I'm going to date myself, when I first started in sales, and basically you had to pick up a phone book. I know people are like, what's a phone book? But there used to be these things that had all these companies in them, and you had to kind of go through one by one, and you had to do a lot of legwork. You had to see if somebody else you knew them and how to get in the door to them. Now, again, to find out everything you need to know, you just type some stuff on this. And so you have to understand that when you're talking to your customers or your prospects, is they probably know more than you think they know. So in order to find out where they are, you do one simple thing. You ask them.
I love it. I was just going to ask you for one actionable tip people could do right now, because everybody wants more sales. What's that one actionable thing? It sounds like you just gave it.
Yeah, go to your best customers, sit down with them, and this is going to be scary, but it's not. You're going to find out so much. Sit down with them and say, why do you work with us? Hey, we know there's other options. Why do you work with us? What is it that we do that you like? And listen. And again, there's a saying I have a lot of different sayings, little micro scripts. Sales and marketing is like the human body. 2 ears, 1 mouth. Listen twice as much as you talk.
Absolutely.
What about those folks that are going to say, well, that's too scary? What if they say, I don't have time for this? How do they get over that hump?
Well, they'll have a lot, and then I'll resort to the thing that will register with them. So obviously saying you're going to get more from your business is not registering. The pleasure part is not registering with them. So I'll go the other way. When your business goes out of business, you'll have all the time in the world to do those things.
Oh, wow.
That's harsh.
Yeah, it's really harsh, but again, if I can't reach someone through the means of things are going to get better, we're going to make it easier, going to make your business flow better, or your business will fail. It'll fail completely, door shut, or it'll fail to get to that next level that you want it to.
Yes.
So,
yes.
And again, I talk to my clients and customers the way they're going to hear me. So I try to lead with the pleasure part, but if they're not hearing that, I will go to the pain part if I have to. Again, I'm a martial artist. I know how to distribute pain if I need to. I prefer not to, though.
That's great.
This has been wonderful, Rob. Again, I would love to have you back on in the future again to explore some of these other areas that we talked about but didn't delve too deeply. This has been fantastic. I think that for anybody who's listening who, like you said, their business isn't quite where they're at, you've given several things that you can do. And the biggest is just to ask. And yes, it's scary to ask, but I really like to hit home on a point that Matt made. And that is that your best clients and customers want you to succeed. So if you go in with that mindset, instead of the fear of, oh, what am I going to learn? And is it going to be bad? You go in with the mindset of, they likely want to help me out. It makes it so much easier than to just pick up the phone or do like we're doing here with a call like this and just saying, listen, this is what I'm looking to do. Will you help me? And I just want to mention, I've done a little experiment just recently, and I've been really looking to grow my LinkedIn connections. And when I first started, I have a business coach. He showed me his whole process, and it's been wonderful, except I didn't resonate with his messaging. And his messaging is very different from mine, and I didn't really feel comfortable with it, and I wasn't getting the results I wanted. So I changed it from the fear and kind of, coming at people and saying, this is what I do. I've switched it now to asking, how can I help you? What's a struggle you're having?
Yep.
And the response has been crazy. Like, I'm really shocked at sometimes the paragraphs people write me. And then what I do is every day I sit down and I write them back. I don't wait until I create the content and then tag them. I write them back immediately. First of all, thanking them for taking the time to respond to me, and then giving them the best tips I can, because again, it's, I don't know everything about their situation, but I always offer something back. And this has done a couple of things. One, it's taken some relationships to a different level, like with you and I, Rob. We now have you interviewed here. I actually referred somebody to you last week because I now know what you do and how you can help others. And then the other thing that is a huge benefit to me is that I take all of that stuff and that becomes what I talk about for my marketing and my content. So easy. And I've had some mixed responses. There are some people who think I'm selling them, which I don't understand how they got to that conclusion, but that's okay. But I'm shocked at how many people have thanked me for this approach, because it's vastly different.
And there are some people that will, I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. I use it. I'm actually doing a presentation to the local Santa Monica Chamber of Commerce today about how to use LinkedIn.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and I'm bringing in a colleague of mine who's like an expert at social media and how to do all that. And I know the sales process part of it is, in order to get good leads, your business, especially LinkedIn, is a great way to go about it.
Yeah.
It's just using it not in a sales pushy type of thing. I just got an email from somebody today that was like, first contact, this is what we do. I'm like going, you haven't even built a relationship with me. You don't know what I need. You're already telling me what you think I need. And it's just funny how it always comes back to that. Just communication, sit down with people and ask. And I don't think it's scary. I think, initially people might get a little bit anxious about it, but as you've said, your customers want you to succeed.
Yeah.
More than not. And if they don't, then maybe they're not your best customer.
You've got it. All right. Let's move, Rob, to finding where you're located. So if people want to find out more about you, where can they find you?
They can go to my website. It's a long one. Bedell, B-E-D as in bed, E-L-L, mediaconsulting.com.
Okay.
And they find out about me and about what I do with the sales process and how I help businesses put a sales process in place, because it's something that a lot of small businesses don't do. Mm-hmm. Fortune 10,000 companies have a sales process that all their people get trained on doing. But a lot of times the smaller businesses don't do this. And when you have a sales process in place that everyone's performing, you get all the salespeople performing at the same top level. And that's really what you want, because small businesses aren't getting the A players. They're getting the B and C players, which is fine as long as they have a process that they can follow. And so that's what I do. I sit down with business owners, make sure they have a sales process. One of the things I do, which again, marketing people love, is I do the lead scoring. That's one of the first things we do. Is like, what are good leads? What are bad leads? And then again, this is a sales process. Is this the sales process for every client or no? Here are our low tier clients. Here are upper tier clients. And this is how the sales process varies.
That's great. Well, thank you so much. Matt and I are both available on LinkedIn. I'm you can just find me there and message me there. Matt, you want to give them
Yeah,
your...
same. Find me on LinkedIn. We'll put everything in the show notes down below. We'll put Rob's website as well. Connect with him. I urge everyone to check out what he's doing, to hear from somebody who's been there and can get you those sorts of sales, remove some of these obstacles that you're having in your sales process as well.
Yeah. If you hear people saying we can't find good salespeople, it's probably not the salespeople, it's the sales process.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So I'm going to just wrap this up. Thank you for joining us today, Rob. This has been excellent. So many actionable items that people can take away and use right away and start changing their sales process, their marketing and sales process.
Communication between the two.
Yeah, and then just really growing their business by switching focus away from them, more toward the customer. So there's been fantastic stuff. We ask people if you comment below so that we can, again, see what interests you. Subscribe, hit that notification bell if you're watching us on YouTube. And that's it for us. Any last words, Matt, Rob?
No, thank you guys for having me on. I really did appreciate it. It's great to be among other professionals with the same mindset. I think when everyone has the same mindset on the same page, that's when business works a lot better.
Yeah.
Terrific. Totally. And you'll notice we're asking you, put some feedback below. We're asking you to hear the good, bad, and everything in between.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, guys, that's it for now. Thank you for joining us for another episode of A Chat with Anita and Matt, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.